The wheat eyelets as a flat panel is a multiple of 10 stitches plus 1. This means that you have to cast on any multiple of 10 such as 10, 20, 30 and then add 1 to that number such as 11 or 21 or 31. Let's get started. Row 1 reads knit 1, yarn over, knit 2, slip slip knit, knit 1, knit 2 together, knit 2, yarn over, and you're gonna repeat from the beginning to the very last stitch. The last stitch is always a knit. I am going to demonstrate moving the stitches first to leave the empty pegs for the yarn overs. As you move the stitches, you will be creating the slip slip knit on peg 5 and the knit 2 together on peg 7. First, we're going to create the slip slip knit on peg 5. To do this, remove the stitch from peg 4 and the stitch from peg 5. Move the stitch from peg 4 over to peg 5 and place the stitch that you're holding back on peg 5. Now move the stitch from peg 3 over to peg 4, the stitch from peg 2 over to peg 3. Now we have peg 2 empty for the yarn over. Now we're going to create the knit 2 together on peg 7. For this, remove the stitch from peg 7, move the stitch from peg 8 over to peg 7. Place the stitch that you're holding back on peg 7. Now you're going to move the stitch from peg 9 over to peg 8, the stitch from peg 10 over to peg 9. Now you have peg 10 empty to create the yarn over at that spot. So now we're going to work those 10 stitches. You are going to knit from peg 1 all the way to peg 10. So knit peg 1, yarn over on peg 2, simply place the working yarn in front of peg 2, knit peg 3, knit peg 4, knit peg 5, treating both loops as 1, knit peg 6, peg 7, treating both loops as 1, peg 8, peg 9, and the yarn over on peg 10, simply put the yarn in front of that peg. Now you need to take care of the next 10 stitches, so you will repeat those same instructions that you created on the first 10 pegs over on the next 10 pegs. Peg. This is my last repetition for my sample, which means the next peg is my plus 1. In this case, the instructions read to knit it, so just go ahead and knit that peg. So that's my plus 1. There we go. That repetition is done, ending with a plus 1 to balance both sides. Row 2, you are going to knit all the stitches including the plus 1. So right now we're at the plus 1 spot, so go ahead and knit it, and then you're going to knit the next 10 stitches, which is the stitch pattern, and you're going to repeat that all around every 10 stitches. Repeat row 1 and row 2 3 more times for a total of 8 rows. I have completed the first 8 rows. I am ready to show you row 9. The knitting is quite small to see it here, but we have basically created this first section. Now we're ready to create the second section, the next 8 rows. Row 9 reads as follows: knit 1, knit 2 together, knit 2, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, knit 2, slip slip knit, and you will repeat from the beginning to the last stitch, which will be a knit 1 on the last stitch. In row 9 we are going to have our knit 2 together on peg 2 and our slip slip knit on peg 10. Our yarn overs will take place on peg 5 and peg 7. Let's show you first how to move the stitches around to have the empty pegs for those yarn overs. Creating the knit 2 together on peg 2. Remove stitch from peg 2 and hold it to the back. Move the stitch from peg 3 over to peg 2. Place the stitch that you're holding back on peg 2. That is your knit 2 together. Now you are going to need peg 5 to be empty, so you're going to move the stitch from peg 4 over to peg 3, the stitch from peg 5 over to peg 4. Now you have peg 5 empty for the yarn over. Now we're going to create the slip slip knit on peg 10. For the slip slip knit, remove stitch from peg 10, hold it to the back, move stitch from peg 9 over to peg 10. Place the stitch that you're holding back on peg 10. Now move the stitch from peg 8 over to peg 9, the stitch from peg 7 over to peg 8. Now we have peg 5 and empty for the yarn over and peg 7 empty for the yarn over. We have 2 loops on peg 2 and 2 on peg 10. Peg 2 is the knit 2 together, peg 10 is the slip slip knit. There's our 10 stitches, and now we are going to simply work those 10 stitches by knitting them. Knit peg 1, knit peg 2, treating both loops as 1, knit peg 3, knit peg 4, yarn over on peg 5, simply place the working yarn in front of peg 5, and then knit peg 6, yarn over on peg 7, simply place the working yarn in front of the peg, knit peg 8, knit peg 9, knit peg 10, treating both loops as 1. We have completed 1 stitch repetition. Repeat that every 10 stitches. And now we're at the plus 1. This one calls to knit, so go ahead and knit it. Row 10. Knit all the 10 stitches and knit the plus 1. we are at the +1 spot, so go ahead and knit it. And now knit the next 10 stitches. Repeat rows 9 and 10 3 more times. Repeat the last 16 rows as many times as desired until your item measures the desired length.